Good morning. We are going to learn today a number of halachas in Rambam, Hilchas Mechira, and the topic is the Rambam's emphasis on Minig HaMedina. Starting with, I'm going to go forward, back, ahead, and back, and then to various other halachas. In Hilchas Mechira, Perik Chavav, Halacha Zayin, the Rambam talks about that when somebody buys and sells, all the things we have spoken about, what's considered a sale and not, and what goes into the sale. It's only if there is no custom amongst the community there. And then he talks about the names of it. If somebody sells this, he also includes this. And you go according to the minig. Okay. And continues the halacha with that. That's halacha zayin. Halacha ches, re-emphasize. This is a big main point. We go according to what people say, how people speak, what they mean, and the minig and the custom in that place. Now, do it by a minig. And then you go according to then you go according to the way the Chachamim set it up. Now, obviously, it would sound that minig is the main thing. The Chachamim just fill in when there's no minig. That's Perik Chavav. Next Perik Chav Zayin, Halacha Yud Aleph. Don't let it away from your eyes. Don't lose sight of the fact. This big thing that Elu Shahu Minig HaMedina. You gotta go according to Minig HaMedina. V'makav Shei Minig HaMedina. Then you go according to the rules of the Chacham. Right? Minig. Most of the main thing, minig, secondary Chacham. Let's backtrack. Perik Yud Zayin Halacha Vav. Ha'omer lechaverei. Somebody says to the person, Yayin mevusam ani mechalach. I'm giving you a certain type of good wine. Chaim lahamed le'ad atzeres. Just to give it to him till atzeres. Yain Yoshan, everything has its time and how much and how old it has to be. Ubemakim sheyesh minig yidua. Yeah, minig takes over. Let's look in other halachas. Hilchas Shchenim talks about building a wall between two partners who own two neighbors that own a parcel of land near each other. I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but he talks about what kind of a wall do you need. Kama yirachbai. Hakol k'minig HaMedina. Now, he says, this is a very important point, even if they just made it with very flimsy material, it's also, that's the minig. However, as long as it defeats the purpose. You can't have a minig that defeats the purpose. It's not a minig. That's what it sounds like he's saying. We'll see soon later that there's different opinions on this. Okay, another, and this is a big one. Hilchas Chiras. which is still to come in Rambam. Perik Tes Halacha Aleph. Somebody hires workers. Aseichas Apelim. V'amalam lahashkim laharev. He tells them, I want you to come early and leave late. Sounds like a regular employee that we know, well know. So, if the minig is not like that, can't force them. And then he ends up, now this is a big one, because halachically there are a lot of questions regarding this. And the Rambam does not seem to care about anything. He just a blanket statement. In Hilchis Ishus, more time, and they say stam. Somebody marries without any details and conditions on financial agreements. Case of a nice giving Amadina goes according to Minig Amadina. And at the end of the halacha again, everything again, Minig Amadina. But here he adds a little condition. I don't know what that unique statement we hear of all places is, but I'm not sure. Because previously he had said Mokim, and now it's Medina, and I don't know why this is different. Perhaps because it's still in Ishus, I don't know. Okay, so we have a bit of a view of the Rambam's emphasis on Minig Medina, and we find a word called Iker Godel. In my research of the Rambam Iker Godel, thank God to computers, the Rambam mentions those words 8 times, and 3 of them are regarding the Halacha of Minig Medina, which makes it a pretty prominent amount of times here. The other times, Hilchos Tshuva, we're talking about we say this in Emunah, and that's in belief regarding halachas of Tshuva and so forth, or Emunah. That makes sense. Why is it Iker Godel? And then there's in Hilchos Shechita, which is talking about again life, manners of kashrus, and here 3 times. All right. In the Mechira Shulchan Aruch, Simmereish Lamed Beis, talks about this concept of somebody sells to a person eggs, but they already have in them the he checks the eggs, and the eggs already have a chicken growing in them, which means you can't eat them. So that's called a mekachtois. That means it's a default, a faulty sale, and it's gone. So what do? Return the money. Okay, we don't. That's not our minute, and we don't do so. And then he throws in something that I believe every person that I met of who knows a little bit knows this word, minig without lalacha, and it's used sometimes in very extreme cases by people who don't know how to use it. Minig without lalacha. Finish. Goodbye. Now, to note, what do these words come from? Where do they come from? They come from the Yerushalmi. On that halacha that we spoke, that you hire workers and you tell them to get up in the morning and to get up early and leave at evening. So he writes, Makom Shanagu, brings them in. It's a Mishnah. Now that the Gemara says, another place in Yerushalmi also says that. Okay, so we have a bit of a picture of what's going on here, but now let's just analyze again. So when we deal with the Rambam, we want to try to understand. His stress seems to be so much on this Minig Medina, and that the Chachamim seem to be secondary. this Iker Godel, which we said was a unique word. And as I said, it's in Hilchos Tshuva twice, Hilchos Shchita twice, 3 times here, and once in Hilchos Taimanit. The Rambam wrote that if you hire workers, you can't force them. Taisus, and the Mishnah brings this Taisus, says that's only if you hired them without telling them anything. You didn't make a condition with it. But if let's say you went and told them, I want you to come early, I'm hiring you on condition that you come early and you leave late. So then Taisus says, let's not talk about it. How cool if you tonight? Make it tonight. It's my tonight. So the question is, why did the Rambam say this? Why did the Rambam not say that it's talking about Yisachar on the country? The Rambam sounds like he's saying, okay, that's a Lashon Mishnah, but it doesn't seem to preclude that it cannot be in a case where they made it tonight. As we said, we don't find in the Rambam the idea of minig mevatel halacha. Those words don't appear in the Rambam, even though we know the Rambam has an affinity to Yerushalmi and would probably like to quote Yerushalmi, but doesn't quote. Now, let's try to understand. Why is there an Indian here, b'chlal, when you sell something and it should be a mekach and the minig is not? Why is that minig mevatel halacha? It means this is the way we this is what the way we do business. We're not intending to do anything else. This is normal. This is our normal. I don't expect it. If I don't expect it, it's not a mekach. And the same thing with hiring workers. What kind of minig mevatel halacha is there? I mean, if there's if this is the way we do it, this is the way we understand it is. There's no halacha that you're being mevatel. Okay, there it's possible that there's a pasuk, so maybe going against the pasuk if you go through the sugya there, but I'm not going into the sugya. The martche in Baba Mechira on this Indian of I'm sorry, hiring workers. The Mordechai brings from the Zerua that it can't be just any minig. That's a minig kavu al pi chachmei hamak. And he quotes Masechta Sefer. And then here it says, "She'ein halacha nekvas alal she minig v'zer sham minig mevatel halacha." Pirish minig vasiken. Al minig she'ein le'rayim na'atayre ein eloketayah b'shikol hadas. Yeah, that's what the Mordechai says. But and if you look at Masechta Sefer, Masechta Sefer is very detailed, goes into a lot of different things about leaning Megillah, happens to be about different manhagim, and there he says very clearly in Masechta Sefer, the Zer Shavar minig mevatel halacha minig vasiken amil shein ramet ein eloketayah b'shikol hadas. Clearly, but they're talking about minhagim regarding minhagim of halachis that I'm not isav heter. It's not even related to moment. It's just interesting. But we don't find any of that in the Rambam. But that's what people use it most. Minig about the halacha, and therefore, if I have a minig, I don't have to care what the halacha says. All right. We spoke about the kaisel between the wall between two properties, between a joint property that you want to make separation between two people, neighbors. So the source of that idea that you can't just use anything is a thesis of Masha Dabeis, Rabbi Tam, that says that the lowest you can go is Hutza V'Daf, which is basically some stalks and very thin and flimsy items. But if you go less than that, minig head you to, and he ends up with the following word: Mikan, the yesh, shalom, shein, listen, even if it says hakel kivnei gamadim. Now, the Talmud Rashba writes in the name of a Chuvas Arif that you need minig sheskimu all of shiva tuvayer, which would fit with the Mardech Chachmei here. But he writes the Ramban and the Rashba, the Ritva and the Ran don't agree with this. Now, you don't find in the Rambam many conditions. Minig, Amadina, the only condition is how far. They got to be minig, minig, kol Amadina, but that's it. Now, does the Rambam disagree with Rabbi Tam? Pashtus, yes. Because the only condition that Rambam puts there is that it should be a separation. And that you shouldn't be able to see through. Because if you see through, there's no wall there. You can't rely on love on that. I can tell my alum this should love it. It's love it. So you can't see me. But no. He doesn't go according to the material. He just wants it to be able to not be see-through. That's it. And it's clear from the Shulchan Aruch, the Mechaber brings the Lashon Rambam. It shouldn't be Avon Sakal. And on that, the Rambam writes, no, Gubepachis me, Kanim, Vuhutzim, Yesh, Emer, Leichlachem, and go. So it's not a double portion. And he quotes the Torah. So I believe the Rambam definitely disagrees with it. So again, what's going on there? There's a lot of areas where this has been applied to and discussed, but I want to get into the answer. I believe it's quite clear from the Rambam. Perhaps again, I believe it means only that I would. It seems that Rambam has a very different view of commerce than others. Now let's take a look. We have the things that Chachamim told us, and we have the Minig Amadina. According to Yerushalmi, it would seem that the Chachamim made the halachas, made minhagim, they made not minhagim, they made conduct in commerce, how to conduct ourselves in commerce, in issues of business and commerce. And based on those takanas, that's the way it should be. However, there is a minhag to do otherwise. I mean, I can go get a chacham. Don't make up. You can make him minhag, but the chacham said to do this. And you can't make up a minhag against the chacham. So A, Masechta Seifrim makes conditions. You can't just do any minhag. That's the fit. B, it has to be a minhag. It has to be a minhag that and the minhag has to be able to be battle halach. It has to be battle halach. There's a halach and there's a minhag. I believe that the Rambam, with his stress on Iker Godel, is trying to reverse that and say no, commerce, business is about our way, the way we understand the issue. Well, it's minhag. Minhag is what determines what's considered the deal here. What are we doing? That's what minhag means. That's what commerce and business means. If there is no clarity in minhag, so the Chachamim came in and said, this is what should be. What Gedder that has Halacha, minhag, maybe they created the minhag, whatever you want to call it, but they created the conduct of this business only when there is no other conduct. And that would explain why the Rambam makes it in such a Iker Godel and positions it as as the Iker, and then the Toffel is the Chachamim. And that's why he doesn't call it minig mevatel halacha. There's no halacha. According to everybody else, yes, there's a halacha. The Meshami holds a halacha. And you want to go be mevatel that halacha. You'll tell me, we made up Amas Namash, Kosa Batayr, and Dina Mammon helps. But first of all, we're not talking about here master. We're talking about we never made any. And we say Hakol Kiminig Amadin. That's a big chiddush, that the minig is mevatel the halacha. That we removed the halacha when we never had a clear understanding that we're going to the minig. Maybe we're going to Chacham. It should be a suffix. No. So that's halacha, minig mevatel halacha. Then you need a mevatel halacha. But I'm also no minig mevatel halacha these things. Paket, halacha is mevatel, is not even mevatel minig. Halacha replaces minig when there's no minig. There's no halacha. That's business. Business is minig, not halacha. I mean, it's halacha that the minig is what dominates and prevails. Because that's what it's about. It's about what our understanding. And that seems to fit into the whole process of how the Rambam looks at it. Now, what does look at it? And that's why the Rambam never mentions anything, any condition, nothing. It's a minig. How big, and that's why it comes down to that I'm disagreeing with Rabbi Tam too. That what are you telling me? I need less than this is no good. Why? That's the minig. That's what we're assuming. The Rambam does make one condition that you can't have a see-through. Okay, because see-through there's no wall. You didn't do anything. Can I have a minig? Have a minig not to put a wall. That's not a minig. Once we are deciding this, there's an hezekri is a real thing. There you need to come on to halacha. There's halacha tells you you have to be concerned about hezekri. Of course, they can be meichel to each other. That's a different story. Okay. Now let's go to hiring workers. The Rambam doesn't mention that it has to be bestama. So I want to suggest that perhaps the Rambam Shita is that if, let's say, he comes to them, the employer comes to the employee and says, they say, I'm hiring you on condition that you come from early morning to late, not as late as can be, even though the minig hamakom is not like that. And they don't actually accept his condition. They don't say anything. They just go to work. It could be that Rambam shit is not like Taisus. It will not be, his trai is not chal. Because the Rambam minig Adina is so clear, unless there's a clear akira of that minig Adina, by both sides, we assume that it's based on minig Adina. You can make a night. You can make a skama. We both agree, and we sign a contract that we're going to get up. Then there's nothing to talk about. Then you have basically said, "I am doing different than minig Adina." But if only the employer says it, and the employee never accepted it in front of witnesses or actually signed a contract like that, the Rambam shit will be minig Adina, because that's the way it goes by. That's what they're working on. They're working on terms of minig Adina. That's what determines the right way. He wants, so he wants. So he said he can terminate their work based on halachas of when he can terminate. But that's it. Got to pay them for the work they did. In other words, it's not a violation of their agreement, because the agreement has been a Medina, according to them. It's so powerful. That's what it works. You want to undo that? There needs to be a t'nai that they accept, and that tells you that we're not going to Medina, and that would answer that. And as we said, with Hutzah V'Dafn also, same idea. And unless the wall is not a wall, there's no such thing. A minig is no good. If that's the minig and it does what it's supposed to do, it's weak and it may fall. Okay, we'll rebuild it. Since this is the Minig Medina, people don't care to rebuild it. Okay. Seid gesund, stark, als Rabbi. Wie war?